you see the person, smell the person, taste the person, touch. You get to know a lot about a person between the sheets.
Yeah. So conventional wisdom tells us that one-night stands are never a good thing. But what's the truth?
Well, I wanted to know that. And so, I do this annual study with Match.com called Singles in America. We don't poll the Match population, we poll the American population. It's based on the U.S. Census. And I asked the question, have you ever had a one-night stand that turned into a long-term committed partnership? And 35% of people said yes.
Wow.
And my hypothesis was that, casual sex is not casual. Unless you're so drunk you can't remember it, it's not casual. Things happen in the brain. And, any stimulation of the genitals can drive up the dopamine system and push you over that threshold into falling in love. And with orgasm, there's a real flood of oxytocin and vasopressin linked with feelings of attachment. And of course, you see the person, smell the person, taste the person, touch. You get to know a lot about a person between the sheets.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a huge escalation point if it works out well, and a horrible, breaking point if it goes out badly. But when you think that you're trying to win life's greatest prize, which is a mating partner, and if you can get them into bed tonight and trigger some of that brain circuitry, you can be off to the races. So enough people do it, and enough people succeed from doing it.
Wow.
I like what you said because it's scientifically sound. I'm going to present an anecdote because I think it's relevant. I have a client who was at a time in her life where she's a divorced client. She signed her divorce decree, but she's still recovering from divorce. She was finding herself in that phase where a woman is single and she's reacquainting herself with herself. She was feeling empowered, she was feeling strong, and she met somebody at a bar. Mess with conventional wisdom, this man was 13 years younger than she was, and she had a one-night stand. The next day, she thought, oh, this is going to just be a write-off. I have no regrets, and I totally enjoyed myself, but I'm not going to see this person again. He, on the other side, kept calling her. They did start dating. 8 years later, 3 years later, they married. 8 years later, they are still together. She tells me that her marriage is like the day she married him. Maybe not with the same sort of hormones and flood and surges, but she feels the same way toward him. And on his side, when he talks about that one-night stand that led to marriage, he thought it was great to get the physicality over with, that he could move on, that there was a great deal of anxiety about whether she would or whether she wouldn't, usually when he's courting or trying to seduce somebody. So to get that out of the way, and then to move on what he considered to more important things, where by getting to know her and understanding where she's going, was incredible. So for some, getting the physicality is great.
That's
out of the way.
Yeah. I think that's totally
It's a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak scientifically to the situation, but I can speak in my line of thought, which is personality difference. Any connection is a connection between two people.
Yeah.
What you describe scientifically, I just describe as the fireworks phase. That phase where you'll swim across the ocean, you'll quit your job just to be with this person. And those intimate moments can kick that off in individuals. And depending upon their level of vulnerability, will determine usually how that's likely going to go. But it's definitely possible.
Another thing too is when you jump into bed with someone, I agree that, you're investing, you're feeling them, you're connecting on many levels energetically. And sometimes I don't think people realize how much that has an after effect on your energetic system.
Right.
But also, you can have that initial rush, that initial fun, but then you go into environments and different circumstances where you really start to learn who is this person, how do they respond with others, what do they believe, and sometimes you can find a deal breaker within a few weeks, and then you're already sort of invested in them energetically, and then you have to kind of weed out of that. And that's another factor, is you can have someone really saying, no, we're going to stay together. And I've had some clients come in and they feel really obligated to stay with someone that now they're just confused about because they got involved too quickly. So that can be the other side of it too, which is can be very stressful and can be not really the smartest initial call.
Intercourse is typically the crown jewel, of a relationship. And to put it first kind of messes up the emotional framework of the people involved. I'm thinking of the Hebrew tradition of covenant I mean, marriage was a blood covenant thousands of years ago in the Hebrew tradition. And the breaking of the hymen was the shedding of the blood that created that covenant. So they would go in and pull the sheets out, saying, "Oh, they're connected," because they would see that it was after a long courtship, and it was pretty much that crown jewel. What happens today is people look at it like trying on shoes.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is you end up preparing for parting, because you've exercised that in your brain. We get together, doesn't work out, we leave. We get together, doesn't work out, we leave. So all you're doing is working up to learning how to leave when it doesn't work out. So a lot of times that jumping from one partner to another in these one-night stands can actually be setting yourself up for a failure in a long-term relationship.
So it sounds like the advice you're getting from the panel is that one-night stands are absolutely something we're doing, right? But that there's a lot of risk with them. So our advice to you is think before you act next time. Give it a thought. Don't let your hormones just lead you leaping off the bar stool.